12 News at 10 starts now.
Hey, I just had a piece about keep going, one step at a time. Be patient. Watch where you're stepping.
We begin tonight with a story of survival. We're speaking with a Vietnam veteran who was stuck out in the Arizona wilderness for 5 days before he was finally rescued. Good evening and thanks so much for joining us. For 12 News at 10, I'm Kariba Devine.
I'm Mark Curtis. This is a remarkable story of a hiker who simply made a wrong turn and suddenly found himself stranded. 12 News journalist Chase Golightly talked to him today, and Chase, he really did all he could to make it out of there alive.
Mark Kribe, from killing a rattlesnake that attacked him to having to drink his own urine. Mark Eric Young said there were times he almost gave up, but thinking of his family and faith helped him push through.
I'm a little bit humbled, embarrassed.
76-year-old Mark Eric Young grew up in the Arizona wilderness, camping and hunting. He spent many years in the Army, doing 2 tours in Vietnam, but says nothing compares to what he recently endured.
I've never been without water for 5 days.
On Thursday, he decided to take a hike near Bloody Basin, about an hour north of Phoenix, a hike he's taken multiple times before.
I blundered. I got off the wrong trail.
Unable to find his way back, Young was lost.
Each night, I slept under a cedar tree.
All he had was a military compass, some canteens, lighters, and water purification pills.
I do have certain survival training and experience, but being alone was, in some ways, it allows you to think about your life and what's important. And what's important is your faith and your family.
Being out there, he came across all types of wildlife, including a rattlesnake that attacked him.
He was rattling and he struck, but he was short on the strike, and then I stoned him to death.
Young kept strong, but by the 3rd day, he was starting to lose hope he would be found, especially when he ran out of water.
I actually had to drink my own urine. Urinated in my canteen and drank it because I knew I had to survive.
His faith and thinking of his 7 children and 31 grandchildren pushing him to keep going.
Being encouraged was different scriptures and different remembrances of near-death situations in my life, and just not feeling like this is not the way to die, by giving up.
During all this time, dozens of search crews with the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office, along with all 7 of Young's children, were searching for him, finding his car and evidence, including the dead snake that led them closer to Young. Then he could hear them.
I just yelled help because I was really worn out. I had no idea that it would be my sons.
Finally, after 5 days, he was saved.
And it was incredible. I mean, we wept and hugged.
He was airlifted by a Maricopa County Sheriff's Office helicopter.
Get him out of here.
He was then taken to the hospital. Young was dehydrated, but suffered no broken bones or serious injuries. A miracle.
If you didn't believe in God, this would make you believe in God.
Young incredibly grateful to be back with his family, thanking them and everyone who put their own lives on the line to rescue him.
It isn't about me. It's about the community, and the people that are willing to even risk their lives to rescue one guy.
The Yavapai County Sheriff's Office tells me Young's survival skills and the mild weather during this time helped keep him alive for all those days. Now, when I spoke with Young today, you could probably tell in that interview he was spending the day with his family as they celebrated his return from an adventure they will never forget. We're live in the studio. Chase Golightly, 12 News.
And Chase, he is so lucky that it happened now versus June or July, because I don't know if he could have made it then.
Exactly, and that was part of the survival, was during the day finding shaded areas, and then at night, once it got cooler, going into areas where there wasn't a lot of wind. At one point, he tried to start a campfire, but they really did say because of that weather we had, it really helped him out. But as you mentioned, if this was a couple months from now, a couple weeks, could be a different story.
Boy, what a story.
I know. It's one of those stories, it makes you want to take a survival course or something, just in case, because you never know.
Yeah, and he had a lot of good gear. He had water with him, ran out. It just goes to show you got to be careful
But
out
he
there.
knew, he knew what to do, though.
Yeah, he did.
Yep, kept
All
him
right,
alive.
Chase, phenomenal
Thanks.
story. Thanks. Crews in southern Arizona continue to make progress on a wildfire that was threatening homes in Cochise County. The Shaw Fire has burned 16 acres just southwest of Wilcox. Tonight, forestry officials say the fire is 70% contained. Evacuation orders have been lifted for residents, but they do remain in place for campgrounds and trails.
Now up to the high country, where APS says that it may shut off power in parts of Flagstaff tomorrow due to increased wildfire risk. This is a map here of the areas that could be impacted, covering about 5,800 APS customers in total. This is all because of dry, windy conditions that are expected up in the high country throughout the day tomorrow. APS says that it has notified impacted customers directly. If your home is affected, APS says to prepare for 12 to 24 hours without power. The city says residents should have an emergency plan in place. If weather conditions approve, then APS will cancel any of those power outages.
Meteorologist Lindsay Riley joins us now. And Lindsay, I'm guessing the winds have to be pretty bad up there tomorrow for APS to consider shutting down the power.
You're absolutely right. And it's also going to be a long duration event. So we have a wind advisory that's going to go into effect for Coconino, Apache, and Navajo counties. And it starts at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning and it goes all the way through 9 p.m. Winds will be sustained out of the southwest 20 to 30 with gusts 45, 50 miles per hour. Right now, even at 10:33 at night, we still have a remaining wind advisory for Mojave County for about another 30 minutes. But another windy day for much of northern Arizona tomorrow. On top of that, we also have a red flag warning because the relative humidity is so low. It's been so dry. So this is where we have an increased fire risk east of Flagstaff, much of the Navajo Nation. Again, for those gusty winds and relative humidity is at about 10%. So at about 2 p.m. tomorrow, this is what we can expect wind-wise. And even in the lower deserts, Phoenix area, you're going to notice some gusty winds mid-afternoon. But as we get toward Thursday, we're done with the wind advisories on Thursday. However, we'll still have some gusty winds across far eastern Arizona, closer to the White Mountains, Graham County, and parts of the Navajo Nation lining right up with the New Mexico state line. Caribe?
Lindsay, thank you. Tonight, a 70-year-old landscaper is recovering after a swarm of bees stung him dozens of times. 12 News journalist Gabriela Becerra shares his story of those frantic moments when he was attacked.
70-year-old Benjamin Montgomery still knows his way around a hedge trimmer.
Found out landscaping is easy and understandable, and I've been doing it for about 30 years.
But after 3 decades in landscaping, he's never experienced this.
It swarmed all over me.
Hundreds of bees swarmed Montgomery while clearing weeds in a yard near 7th Street and Thomas Road.
I tried to put water on me and it didn't work, and I just sat down and that was it.
He doesn't remember what happened next. His assistant, Jason Sawyer, found him unconscious and covered in bees.
I was screaming at Ben, wake up, because they were all over his face, and he didn't respond. And I'm thinking, oh God, please, don't do this. And I was scared that maybe they attacked him a couple of times and maybe he just passed out and now they're trying to finish the job.
Sawyer called 911. Firefighters hosed Montgomery down and took him to the hospital where they pulled dozens of stingers from his face, arms, and legs.
They got him everywhere. I mean, all over his body.
You can see that thing is almost loaded up. Then we grab my bucket and we'll get it cleaned out of there.
Evan Henderson with Busy Bee Pest Solutions says bees spent the warm winter breeding and they became active earlier than usual this spring.
They have been so nasty and it's because of all the overbrooding.
Henderson says the best thing to do in a situation like this is to stay calm.
I would say the best tip would be isolation, getting to a room, a car, a garage.
Montgomery spent nearly a week in the hospital.
It hurts a little bit.
And even with swelling and blisters, he's back to work. Do you feel like he saved your life almost?
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
He says he's not going to let this scare keep him from doing what he loves.
I'm just a regular old guy and trying to do what I can.
In Phoenix, Gabriela Becerra, 12 News.
Oh my God, that poor man. All right, Gabby, thanks. For the second time in just over a week, a small plane was forced to make an emergency landing on a valley street. This time it was in Mesa, and thankfully, just like the last incident in Phoenix, everyone was okay. The plane took off from Falcon Field at about 8 o'clock this morning. It was piloted by a student pilot and an experienced flight instructor. But an engine problem forced the pair to land in the safest place possible, which wound up being the westbound lanes of Main Street in Mesa. The plane's owner says the pilots did exactly what they were trained to do.
We're continually putting in the students' minds, okay, if you have an emergency, where can you land? Where's the best place to land? There's just some things that you can't foresee problems happening or emergencies like this.
The NTSB and FAA are now inspecting the plane to try to figure out what caused that engine failure.
New tonight, a Gilbert family is shaken up after a road trip took a dangerous turn. A tow hitch randomly crashing through the family's front windshield, just narrowly missing the passenger. It happened as Marissa Kendall and her family were traveling southbound on Highway 93 just outside of Kingman. 12 News journalist Tiani Jadalang is joining us live in studio, and she spoke with the family and shows us how they're recovering tonight. Tiani?
Kraby, it's been an emotional 24 hours for the Kendall family. They tell me the trailer hitch kicked up in front of their car and crashed where the roof of the car and the windshield meet, damaging not only their vehicle, but sending the passenger, Marissa, to the emergency room.
I went to look up and then I just felt a boosh and it was pitch black. And I could feel glass in both of my eyes.
That's Marissa Kendall explaining what happened on her family's drive back home Monday afternoon. Her husband, Casey, says he saw the moments right before a trailer hitch with the ball still attached flew through the windshield.
I saw the truck waver and then the back tire kicked it straight up in the air and it flipped like a football end over end. And before I could even say anything, it crashed through our windshield and ended up in our center console.
Casey, who was driving, and the couple's 2 children in the back seat were not injured. But Marissa is still left wondering what would have happened if the tow hitch didn't land in the center console.
I truly believe that there was a guardian angel that was watching over us, because the trooper had also shared that a week before something similar had happened on the same freeway, and those people didn't make it.
Casey was able to call 911 shortly after the incident, and within 5 minutes, they say the ambulance was on scene and transported Marissa to the local hospital. But as for where that tow hitch came from, the family doesn't have an exact answer.
It just literally came like a missile out of nowhere.
Well, the family tells me they're thankful the crash wasn't more severe. Marissa is left dealing with injuries from that accident.
The main injury on my eyes is just that I had a blood vessel burst. So that's what makes it red, and the pressure and all of that will heal and go away, because that's just all you can really do.
Now the family credits their safety to local law enforcement.
And the DPS officer with a citizen officer was able to transport us to the hospital, call a tow truck. He even called our insurance company to notify them, and then delivered our luggage from our vacation to the hospital.
The Kendall family tells me insurance is covering all medical expenses, but as for their car, they have filed a claim with insurance and it remains in the repair shop. Live in studio, I'm Tiani Jadalang, 12 News.
All right, Tiani, thank you.